Alright, what's up YouTube? We're back here with another video. So as you can see from the title, this is going to be a Genesis Coupe 2.0T. This is a Pt.1, but this is pretty much the same process on a BK2 2.0T. Basically today what we're going to be doing is doing a timing chain job on this block right here that we have. So I had a customer bring it into me today, and I thought maybe I'd just make a video out of it and show you guys how to do it from start to finish. So as you can see over here, we already have the intake off. We also have the coolant reservoir already taken off as well. And right here, usually you have your little air duct that goes into your intake. That's also removed. So basically this part pretty much goes on. It has a screw here, here, and here. They're all fill-ups. Just simply take them out, put that to the side to take off the intakes. Same deal. You have a bolt right here, and you also have another one over here somewhere. I forgot where was that exactly. For the coolant reservoir, you have two 10mm bolts. You're gonna have one right here and one right here. I'm gonna show you guys what the part looks like. So here's your coolant reservoir right here, and it would sit in place pretty much. Let me see if I can get this angled right. It would pretty much sit in place. This would line up right here, and this would line up over here. And those are the two bolts you need to remove. So now that I have you guys up to speed pretty much on what I've taken off already, the next thing we're gonna go ahead and do is disconnect the negative terminal from the battery, of course, because we are gonna be taking off some sensors and connectors. So anytime you do that, always remove the negative terminal on the battery. After we do that, we're gonna go ahead and come over here and we're gonna take out our radiator fan. All right, so now that the negative battery terminal is off, we're gonna come over here. As you can see, there's a 10mm right here and a 10mm right there. Those two 10mm pretty much hold on your OEM fan to the radiator, and then you also have a connector clip right here. To take this connector clip off, you simply just press down on the tab and then pull this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll go on to the next few steps. So our connector is disconnected, put it to the side, and then we also have our 10mm bolt out. So all you have to do is press this back, pull up on it, and just like that, the fan is now free. There we go. So from this point, we have our timing cover exposed pretty much right here. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in the way for the timing cover to come off. You have the power steering pump, water pump pulley, my bad. These tensioners right here, and then of course this stuff right here. Also, just a quick note that the oil pan down there has 5 10mm bolts down there that also need to be coming out as well. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do first is loosen up these bolts right here, because you need to loosen them first while the belt holds tension on the pulley. That way they can come off easier. If you try to do it without the belt on, then this pulley is just gonna fin freely. So make sure you take these, not take them off, but loosen them while the belt is holding tension on that pulley. So don't take them off, but just loosen them. All right, so I got the bolts loosened up. I'm gonna go ahead and now take off the belt. And after I take off the belt, I'm gonna start taking off these tensioners and the pulley. So to remove the belt, there is a tensioner right here. I want to say it's a 17mm if I remember correctly. And all you have to do pretty much is put the 17mm on, get your breaker bar, and push it this way. So all you have to do is pretty much slide this breaker bar up like this, and now you can remove your belt. So let me pull this out real quick. And just like that, belt is loose. So now with the belt out, I'm gonna go in now and take off these pulleys real quick, and then we'll go from there. So you're gonna have a 15mm right here, another 15mm, and 3 10mm right there. All right, so as you can see now, the pulley is off, and these two idler pulleys as well. So from here, we are going to take off the crank pulley. So the crank pulley has a 22mm bolt on there. And what I like to do is use vice grips in this case. So I use the vice grips to pretty much put tension on it while I attempt to take off the crank bolt pulley. So I'm gonna show you guys what I'm talking about right now. So this is pretty much what I do, guys. So as you can see, the vice grips is right there. And pretty much you have to go to the left with your breaker bar. So as you're going to the left with your breaker bar, as you can see down here, there's this little notch. So the vice grips pretty much hold the crank pulley in place, and then they hold it against this notch. And when you do that, you can easily take the bolt out just like that. See how I already loosened up? So yeah, that's pretty much how I pretty much take out the crank pulley. There are some other tools that can be used for this, but then you have to go to auto parts stores and rent out their tools, and it's just a process, you know. So this is pretty much how I do it on the autos. If you're a 6-speed, then it's not as difficult to do, because all you really have to do is pretty much put your, I want to say, if you're a 6-speed, all you have to do is pretty much throw the gearing into 6th gear while you're doing this, and it pretty much locks the crank in place while you remove the bolt. So pretty easy for you 6-speed guys. So the crank pulley is off, as you can see. So right down here, I want to show you guys something very important. You see that right there, that little thing sticking out? That is a crank pin. Pretty much do not lose this. It's very, very, very important. This pin right here, make sure you do not lose it. Again, it's very, very important. If you want, you can take it off right now, or just leave it on there, whatever you want to do, and just make sure you have something under to catch it in case it falls. So do not lose that, it's very important. So the crank pulley is now out. So what we're going to be focusing on now is pretty much removing the power steering pump. So to remove the power steering pump, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is get that bolt, and there's another bolt right here, as you can see right there. Both of them are 12 millimeters, if I remember correctly. And after you get those bolts out, make sure you remember which one goes where. The smaller size bolt goes on top, and the long bolt goes on bottom. After you get those bolts out, then you're gonna wanna hit it with a mallet this way down, and the pulley should come right out. So these are the 2 bolts I was talking about. Now we're gonna get the mallet, and we're gonna go ahead and push it down. Got our mallet, here's the pulley. And just like that, it's pretty much free. So as you can see right here, the power steering pump is now out of the way, and timing cover right here pretty much can clear it now. So I don't have to necessarily push it any more to the left. This is perfectly fine, because the timing cover should come straight out this way, and it's not gonna be able to hit the power steering pump. So we are currently under the car right now, and what we're gonna be doing next is pretty much draining the oil. So I'm going to take this off real quick, and we'll be rolling after this. So while the oil is finishing up draining, we're gonna focus up here a little bit. So I actually forgot to mention that you do need to take off this tensioner pulley right here. I wanna say it is a 15 millimeter down there, or 14. I'll let you guys know in a bit. And then we're also gonna be taking off pretty much this, I don't know what to call this really. They're like they're vacuum lines, and they're also coolant lines right here. So this is a coolant line hose right here, and this is for vacuum reference, if I remember correctly. But we're gonna be removing these pretty much. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off this 10 millimeter, this 10 millimeter, and that 10 millimeter. And then we're also gonna be taking off that, I wanna say it was a 14 millimeter or 15 millimeter down there. All right, so we got our 10 millimeters removed. You can pretty much move this however you want now. And now down here, we had a hose clamp. So we had to pull back this hose clamp. It was a little kind of hard, a little difficult, just because of how tight of an area it is. But if you spray WD-40 on it, it comes off way easier. So now we just pretty much have to break the hose loose and pull this straight out. So warning, there might be some coolant that comes out of it, and then sometimes you don't have any come out. But whenever you have this off, do not take off your radiator cap. Otherwise, you're gonna pretty much give it air, and it's gonna push out a lot of coolant. So we're gonna take this off real quick, and we'll go on to the next step. All right, and just like that, you can put this now to the side. All right, so what we're gonna be doing now is pretty much taking off this hose and this hose real quick. This one usually has a clamp on it. You just take out the clamp, pull it out. Same deal with this one. Push the clamp back and just pull it out. Sweet, so the hoses are now out. Now we're gonna move on to the next step, and we're just gonna pretty much take off this 10 millimeter bolt. When we take off this 10 millimeter bolt, it's pretty much gonna give us some room to pretty much take off the valve cover, because if you leave it on, then you're gonna have the harness hold it down. So you wanna take off this 10 millimeter bolt to be able to give this harness some slack. And then we're also gonna start disconnecting our ignition coils. Pretty much all you do is press up on this gray tab, press it down. So pretty much up, if I can get it. See how this tab goes up? Then you'll press this gray tab down and pull up like that. Okay, so now we have that stuff taken off. The ignition coils are out. We are gonna come over here, and you're gonna see a 10 millimeter here, and a 10 millimeter right there on this black cover. It's pretty much your harness cover. So we're gonna take those two 10 mils out, take this off, and then we're also going to take off our injector harnesses. So you pretty much clip down on the clip and you push out. Pretty much everything's off. I also forgot to mention that you need to take off your map sensor. This is a map and TIP sensor, both of them integrated. So for some of you guys that don't know where the location's at, this is it. So we're to have to take off the map sensor pigtail, and we're pushing it back. And now you have all that slack right there to pretty much get the 10mm bolts off the valve cover, and now you can take it off. So we're going to do that right now. So you have these 10mm all around the valve cover that you need to take off: front, back, rear, sides, and you also have some in the center. So you're gonna have some right here, right there, and another one right there. So we're gonna take off all the 10mm bolts real quick, get the valve cover off, and then we're gonna hit the timing cover face bolts and then take those off. All right guys, so if you ever come across a problem where the valve cover will not come up, it's because usually it's been on there for a long time and it's pretty much made it to the surface. So all you have to do pretty much is get a flathead, get into this corner right here, and then just pry up on it. Same deal on this side, get in this corner and pry up on it. Whatever you do, do not go into this middle part right here, because if you go into it, I know there's a little like spot you can wedge the flathead in there like that. I know there's that spot, but if you wedge it too much, you can hit the cam gears, and if you hit the cam gears and mess them up, then you're SOL. So do not go from the middle, go from the sides. So the valve cover is now off. Now, as you can see, this engine has definitely seen its days. There's a lot of buildup on the side, so make sure you clean that up really well. Make sure you also avoid any kind of dirt getting into the head right here. If you get any dirt in there, make sure you clean it out really good. For example, this right here, you're gonna want to be very careful with, because it broke off of the valve cover gasket. So you're gonna be very careful taking it off, because you don't want it getting any pieces inside of here when removing it. All right guys, so we pretty much have the timing cover or the valve cover mating surface pretty much cleaned up. So we're gonna focus on taking off the timing cover now. As you can see, you have multiple bolts holding it in place. There's even a hidden one right there. There's one right here. You know, they are all around the timing cover. There's two right there. So the majorities are going to be either 12s or they're going to be 10. So make sure you have a 10 and a 12mm socket, a deep socket, and pretty much you're just going to take off all of these bolts right here that are on the timing cover. And after I get that done, we'll move on to the next step. All right, so we have all of our timing cover bolts off now. So we're gonna go to the bottom of the car again, and we're gonna be taking off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10mm bolts on the oil pan. We are now under the car, and we're gonna be taking off that one, this one, that one, that one, and that guy right there. So we're just gonna be taking off those 10mm bolts right there. And then after we have those 10mm bolts out, we'll be taking off the timing cover. So to get the timing cover off, because it's gonna be on here pretty good, you're gonna need to get a pry bar of some sort, and basically there's a spot right here where you can wedge it into. So you're gonna wedge it into there, and you're gonna pull forward like that. And see how it's moving? So pretty much you're getting it loose on this side, and then you're gonna come to this side. There's a spot where you can wedge it into, and you can pretty much pry on it to break it loose on that side. Once you have it broken loose on both sides, you can put a flathead in that crack right there and then pry it off completely, and your timing cover will be removed. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll move on to the next step. All right guys, so as you can see, the timing cover is off over there. As you can see, this is a timing chain right here. You have your guides right here, they're plastic guides. And then right down there, that gray piece, that's your timing chain tensioner. All that's pretty much gonna get replaced today, including the one down there. So I'm gonna show you guys how to remove all of this, okay? We're gonna start off by taking off that tensioner right there. It's just two 10mm bolts, or you guys can take off the this right here first, the actual timing chain guide, which I think I'm actually gonna do first. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off this 10mm right here. And then on this side, there's a 10mm, another 10mm, and another 10mm. So there's 3 10mm on the right side, 1 on the left. Make sure you take note too of how the guide is set up, okay? So we're gonna take off the guides real quick, and then we'll come back.